So this is how you can use AI better than 95% of e-commerce brand founders. So my name's Will De Bruin, if you don't know me. I co-founded an e-commerce business in 2013 with my brother. We left our corporate jobs, started a e-commerce business from the kitchen bench, and that business has since gone on to do multiple seven figures per year. And I've also helped over 250 e-commerce brands scale to record revenue months over the last few years in my paid programs, my Ecom Blueprint and Up-Level Mastermind programs. Now, I'm sure you've heard of AI, artificial intelligence, and I know it's been talked about extensively over the last few years. And to be really honest with you, if you're like me, it's quite overwhelming. And there's tools that seem to be coming out every single day, week, month, and it feels like you're playing catch up all the time with what you should be using, what you are using, what you're not using, and it just goes on and on and on and on. You might be going through, YouTube and Facebook groups and Instagram and getting emails, and it's just even the thought of it, overwhelms a lot of people. And so what I'd say that there's probably half of ecom brand founders that I know, that I speak to on a daily basis, are at that point where they're just completely overwhelmed that they don't use it at all. Okay, so you can literally just beat half the people by actually just using artificial intelligence, the tools that I'll go through, and some of the methods as well that I'll go through today. But that's the first port of call. And then the next part of call is that there's a couple of tiers that people use it on. And so I'll go through exactly what that means. Now, when we talk about AI, there's no real end to how you can use it, what tools are available for what you can use it. Okay. And so the first and foremost thing is to reduce any overwhelm. You just need to know essentially what purpose you are using it for. There's no point trying to create jobs to use AI just to be in the know or feel like you're hip or feel like you're actually making progress, right? You actually need to have a purpose that you're using that AI for. Because these AI tools are only as good as what we can input them with, okay? So if we're very hazy, unsure of what we actually want an AI tool to do, then we're going to get mediocre or hazy results out, right? It's the old garbage in, garbage out. So that's first and foremost. You need to have clarity on what you use it for. Then obviously you can then start to research and outreach and just understand what's available out there in the marketplace. And I can basically guarantee you that there is something for everything within the marketplace. Okay, so a couple of examples and ideas of where AI can be used. Okay, so firstly, there's things like copywriting. Okay, so we default to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all these sorts of tools. It doesn't really matter actually what you use, especially when you're just using things on, even kind of moderate levels. It's not like we're developers and using things on crazy sophisticated levels. So any of those platforms is comparable, I would say, over time. And then of course you've got AI tools for, even just Shopify, for example, with the Sidekick, using that to understand how to create this, and this. Like, it's getting better and better every single day. And of course, as these AI tools get to know you and you can actually give them feedback on their outputs and their results, then they get better and better and better. So it's like this thing that keeps building intelligence day in, day out, which is incredibly, incredibly valuable. Then you've got obviously tools around content creation, content editing, anything, assistance and whatever. It's basically, as I said, whatever use you can think of, you can find something AI. Now, do you need all those tools? Absolutely not. So what I instruct with my clients is, look, what's something super repetitive that, you don't want to do anymore that you can actually systemize using AI? It could be content creation ideas. It could be YouTube video ideas. It could be anything along those lines that you can start to use it by. Okay. So I just want to blanket it by saying it's basically impossible to keep up with what tools are out there, and don't even honestly bother. Like, you just need to know what tools you need it for, and then access those tools and then just start to use them consistently. So it might even be like, honestly, if you just started with ChatGPT, for example, then that would be totally sufficient. It would be able to reduce your workload and you'll be able to use it, as I said, better than 95% of people if you just hone in on that one platform. So that's a little bit about platforms and uses. Obviously, there's a lot more that I could go into, but honestly, I'm the sort of person that likes to keep things simple, and I like to just clarify what I need it for and then only use those purposes. So I'm only probably using 2, 3, 4 tools for any specific use or purpose, all right? So getting into the weeds of how you might use a tool like ChatGPT. I personally use ChatGPT. As I say, you can use Claude, you can use Gemini, any sorts of platforms like that. There's basically 3 tiers of people at the moment in terms of how they're using AI, okay? The first one, or the bottom tier, is really the problem solution, right? Question and answer. So some people will use AI like a question and answer, like a Google. They'll use it as a search engine just to get ideas and some specific results. That might be every day, or it might be once a week, it might be once a month, whatever it might be. It's very baseline tools that are very effective, right? Very handy, but not utilizing things to its fullest extent, right? You kind of just need to get familiar with what like the capabilities. As I said, you need to know and have clarity on what you need to use it for to give it the inputs, to give it the desired outputs, right? The second tier is a bit more like a PA, right? Like or a complement to the task that you're doing and using it on a daily basis. So I would say I'm kind of on this tier, edging on the next tier, which I'll chat through, but this is where you use AI, in this case, ChatGPT daily, right? You use it for your ideas, you use it for brainstorming, you use it for content creation, whether it's emails, socials, even imagery. You use it for, obviously support, customer support, use it for all these sorts of things on a daily basis. And as you input more and more and more and more and give it feedback more and more and more and more, it gets more efficient and more effective, right? A big mistake that people make, and I'll use my dad as an example in this case. When I spoke to him the other day, he said, I used it for a contract, for example, and it was full of holes, and it was full of this and it's full of that, and he didn't give it the inputs that it needed for it to be effective, because you don't want to get to the point, or you don't want to be guilty of getting to the point where you say, it's just easier if I go and do it myself. Right? That's not how we teach an employee. That's not how we teach AI to work for us. All right. So the second tier is actually working with us. We're prompting it, we're giving it the inputs, and it's giving us the result to save us a hell of a lot of time throughout the day. Okay. That's the second tier, daily use. The third tier is actually what we call agency, AI agency. And what I'll use in a really simple context is very much a dumbed down version, which I needed when I first understood what it was. It's basically automations. So using AI, instructing AI to create automations or things without you actually having to prompt it. Or if there's a prompt, it's a simple trigger and it goes off and does the task for you. It ping pongs back and forth. It's able to communicate with itself in terms of what the requirements are that you specifically need. And so that is the next level that I'm teaching on, and a lot of people are obviously getting into, and a very small percentage of people, but people are getting into, is going from just doing it with me to doing it for me. Right? They're actually the employee that's been instructed and taught as such. Okay, so from what I've basically talked about, you can see that to get to that second tier, and especially that third tier, you need to have appropriate inputs. Okay, really, really important. It's only going to be as good as what you teach it to be, right? So whether you're using tier 1, you need to graduate to tier 2 if you're going to be a serious business owner and use it better than 95% of people, right? That's just a prerequisite. Now, how do we do that? How do we get better at it? Basically, what I do is I write down every single thing that I do in a day, every single thing that I do every week, every single thing I do every month. And I categorize these things, and you'll be surprised at how long, these lists are. And then I basically create, a separate chat or file in ChatGPT, this is, and start to fill it up with context. I start to just give it some background. I actually have to put work into it understanding me and how I work. Now, there's something that's called basically a chat sandwich, for example, right? It sounds a bit weird, but imagine like a sandwich that's got a piece of bread on top, the meat in the middle and a piece of bread on the bottom. This is how you basically have to kick off to use these chats effectively, right? So you got to start with who you are. You got to start with what perspective am I coming from that I need you to come from with the output that you're going to produce, all right? So who am I? The second thing is, what do I actually need? It might be the email, it might be the response, it might be the checklist, it might be the ideas, whatever it might be. Give it specifically what you want it to do. Be as specific as possible. And the third part is examples, or this is what good looks like, right? So you need to fill this out as much as possible. You can't assume it's a mind reader. It's just not. So context, 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 context. If you're not able to, you're not willing to, you're too lazy to give it the inputs that it needs, you're never going to be able to leverage AI properly. You're never going to be able to figure it out. You're never going to be using it better than 95% of people, right? So you need to understand and treat it like an employee in terms of, I give this person this amount of training, this much information. It'll be a hell of a lot faster than that. But that's the sort of attitude you must have, right? I need it to be better for me, so I need to give it this. I need to then go and correct it. I have to say, that was good, but change this. That was too long. This is a better version. These are the words I use, right? And then by the 5th, 6th, 7th, 10th iteration, improvement and ongoing iteration, it's sounding exactly like you. It's exactly what you need. It's exactly what you wanted. And so then it just becomes a prompt. Bang, I need an email for today. This is the topic here. Or, choose your favorite topic based on what we spoke about last time. And it will spit out everything, including the subject line, the hook, be inbox compliant, make sure it doesn't go, spam folders, promotion folders, etc. And that's the point we really want to be at on that level 2 tier. Now, the agency, the level 3, is that it'll do all that without you even prompting it. It knows it's Tuesday. That's the trigger. So I have to go and create, meaning the agent, I have to go and create the email, I have to draft it, I have to schedule it, all these sorts of things. That's what we're getting to next, which is getting easier and easier and easier. You don't have to code these things anymore. But the way that you use AI, not better than 95% of people, or ecom brand founders at least, especially, the people that I've spoken to in terms of their experience, is to get to that, at least that level 2. Use AI with you, right? Every single day. But the way that you do that is context, 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 context. Remember the sandwich, right? Who am I? What do I need? And what does good look like? All right. And continue to improve it over time. It's never just a set and forget chat if it's a repeatable task. It will build intelligence with you. It will remember what it spoke about last time, what your instructions were last time. Okay. I just want to emphasize spending as much time as you possibly can. It might seem like, a lot to begin with, but it's one step back in terms of time to 2 steps forward. Again, like any employee, but a hell of a lot easier. They're friendly. They show up on time and they're always available and you need to pay them nothing. So it's extremely worth your while getting better at this. It makes our jobs as entrepreneurs, as ecom brand founders, extremely, extremely valuable with how much leverage we have. Again, 13 years ago, we didn't have any of this stuff when we started, Karmic cold pressed juice. So it's an amazing world we live in, and taking responsibility to get on top of it is the most important thing, right? Figuring it out, knowing what you need it for, giving it massive amounts of context to deliver the output that you need. Quality inputs in, quality output out. Okay, so look, I hope this was valuable for you. If it was, love a like, love a subscribe. Creating videos like this all the time. So if you want to know more about how we help ecom brands, you can click on the link below. But other than that, thanks for watching till the end, and I'll catch you in the next one.